Hello and welcome back to the Antisocial Social Club with the K. My name is Bree, and this is my channel where we talk about things that I doom scroll. Okay, and today we will happen to be talking about the U.S. being at war with Venezuela. Okay, if you're new here, hello. And if you're just passing by, please like, share, and subscribe. It won't cost you a penny. And if you've been here since the beginning, well, thank you and keep coming back. So we're going to get into these videos and I will discuss how I feel about it at the end. And then you can tell me how you feel about the situation in the comments. Maybe we can spark up some debates or whatever the case may be. But let's get into it.
Venezuela is completely surrounded by the largest group of warships ever assembled in South American history, and has announced a blockade on all sanctioned oil tankers, stopping them from entering or leaving the country. Over the past few weeks, we verified the positions of the US military ships operating in the region. Among them is the world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, seen on satellite images taken on Monday. And it's not just ships. The US has also deployed jets and thousands of troops. For months, the US has launched a wave of strikes against boats in an operation Washington says is to combat drug trafficking. We've identified the positions of more than 30 sanctioned vessels currently in the Caribbean. One of them is the Skipper, which was recently boarded and seized by the US Navy off the coast of Venezuela. Venezuela is home to some of the world's largest oil reserves and has accused the US of trying to steal its resources.
News: Venezuela has ordered its Navy to begin escorting oil tankers departing its ports, escalating security measures around its vital petroleum exports amid growing tensions with the United States. President Maduro: our oil tankers will sail with full security, technical support, and operational guarantees from the Navy in order to exercise their rights to freedom of navigation. So this is Venezuela sending a very clear message to the U.S. that they will not go down without a fight. If the U.S. wants to seize Venezuelan oil tankers, they'll have to go through the Venezuelan Navy. This is a huge embarrassment to the U.S. because it comes just a day after the U.S. said that not a single Venezuelan oil tanker would leave Venezuela. But it gets worse. The U.S. decided to completely let those Venezuelan oil tankers pass because they were escorted by the Navy. President Trump said, quote, "It's a blockade. Not going to let anybody go through that shouldn't be going through. They took all of our oil from not that long ago, and we want it back. They illegally took it. We want it back. They took our oil rights. We had a lot of oil there. As usual, leave me a follow for more global news like."
Well, America, you ready to be at war with Venezuela? Because that's what you got. Donald Trump just announced that he's closed the airspace over that country, and because, one, that's a violation of their sovereignty, and number two, because it's being enforced with our military, it constitutes an act of war. So, that's where we're at. No congressional oversight, no declaration of war. It's based upon a foundation of lies, from saying TDA was a gang connected to Maduro that was wreaking havoc in America, just saying he's a narco trafficker and responsible for drugs coming into the U.S., when in fact he supplies those drugs to Europe. And on top of all that, he just let the former president of Honduras, who brought 400 tons into this country, facing 45 years in prison. He pardoned him. He doesn't give a shit about drugs. So we're starting a war. Don't know why. Nobody knows what's going on. It's going to go bad, because if you look at the trajectory into it, it's the worst we've had in modern history. So buckle up.
Lamentablemente, escuchamos unas delirantes declaraciones del presidente de los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica. Delirantes. Cuando señaló e indicó que se establecía un supuesto bloqueo naval en las aguas del Caribe con un despliegue, como él mismo lo ha dicho, sin precedentes de su armada, de la Armada de los Estados Unidos, en espacios del Caribe. Y ha anunciado una cosa completamente incoherente. Completamente incoherente. Ha dicho el señor Trump que nosotros somos los ladrones, que nosotros nos hemos robado el petróleo que subyace aquí en nuestra tierra, pero que ellos dicen que les pertenece. Eso es una cosa completamente inconsistente, incoherente, Y, bueno, pudiésemos decir, hoy, pueblo de Venezuela, 17 de diciembre, Venezuela se ha notado una victoria de cara a la verdad. La verdad ha sido develada.
Drones in this war with Venezuela is going to hit America like a freight train. This is not Iraq 2003 or Afghanistan. Venezuela has its own military and it has its own drone industry, and it's worked with countries such as Russia, China, and Iran. And for those who do not know, their drones can extend as much as 1,600 miles, which for those people who don't know, that's all the way up to Tampa and Orlando. Do y'all really think y'all gonna do a ground invasion into Venezuela and bomb Venezuela and think U.S. cities are not going to be hit? Puerto Rico is not going to get hit? U.S. bases are not going to get hit? Russia thought they were going to steamroll, blitz through Ukraine. It was going to be a cakewalk. How'd that turn out? We've seen Ukrainian drones hit Russian cities deep within Russia. We've seen America bomb Yemen. How'd that turn out? We've seen Yemen hit Tel Aviv. People are not factoring in. If you're going to do a ground invasion, not only are you going to deal with the insurgency and the guerrilla warfare and the dense jungles, you think those drones are not going to be up in the sky over Miami, over Tampa, over Southwest Florida, over U.S. cities? Do y'all think this is going to be a game? Like this is a joke? Everybody advocating for war in Venezuela is going to be kikiing and laughing until them drones come across Miami, come across Tampa, and all of a sudden you hear boom, boom. Now everybody's going to suddenly be all shocked and scared. Because if I was Maduro and y'all coming after me, oh, you folks in Hialeah, you folks in Miami, you folks in Fort Lauderdale can get it. If I'm going down, you going down with me. Y'all not ready for what this war with Venezuela is going to be like. And I just looked up, it may be able to hit Jacksonville. So yeah, y'all buckle up.
Well, it's 2025 and America's going to go to war for oil yet fucking again. Major escalation. We just seized an oil tanker off the Venezuelan coast. So now we're seizing oil tankers and blowing up fishing boats and doing murder and war crimes. We'll say, at least this time they're being just flat out obvious about it. There's no weapons of mass destruction or any of this other bullshit. They're just straight up, we're just doing it for oil. This isn't about drugs. This is about fentanyl, which Venezuela doesn't fucking produce. I can't wait for ExxonMobil and other oil companies to give them another medal. Let's give them another fake medal like they did with FIFA.
Historic executive order I will sign today. We're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction.
Okay, but are you sure you're not on the stuff yourself? Because, like, there's no way this nonsense is the product of a sober adult mind, right? It's showing telltale signs of cognitive mass destruction. Basically, he says he's sent an armada to blockade Venezuela until such time as they return all the oil, land, and assets that they have stolen from the United States. This is Venezuela, right? Right there. That's the United States. There's no border dispute here. What land exactly is it you believe belongs to you? Also, you think Venezuela has stolen oil from the United States? Venezuela, the country that has more oil than any of the countries, has stolen from the United States, the country that needs oil more than any of the countries. Now, I would think he's doing the sort of classic Trump gaslighting by just insisting that the opposite of the truth is in fact the truth over and over again. Like if you say he's corrupt, he'll say he's the least corrupt in every speech for the next 7 months. If you say he's got a bad vocabulary, he'll say, actually, I have the best vocabulary, I know words, I have all the best words. That's actually how he said he had a good vocabulary. The longest word in the sentence he structured to argue how articulate he was words. So naturally, if people accuse him of wanting to steal oil from Venezuela, he will go, actually, Venezuela is stealing oil from me. Actually, what he seems to mean is that he wants to try and force and bully Venezuela to return to old oil deals that American corporations had with Venezuela in the past that don't actually serve Venezuelan interests at all. Back in the day, the United States had a very exploitative arrangement with Venezuela that was very beneficial for American American corporations. That seems to be what he means by theft, right? That they refused to continue an arrangement that didn't benefit them at all. And by land, I think he means rights to drill oil on land in Venezuela. He seems to keep forgetting that he's pretending that this war he's trying to start is about fentanyl, which also doesn't make any sense, right? Since the major producer of the fentanyl that ends up in the United States is actually China, and the source, the country that it's coming in from, is Mexico, and the primary demographic that's actually doing the smuggling is American citizens, obviously, because they receive much less scrutiny at the border. If putting an end to fentanyl was his priority, he would be looking elsewhere. But, elsewhere doesn't have the largest oil reserve in the world. If I know my American history correctly, we're probably going to see Venezuela inexplicably attack one of the ships in the blockade in the next month or so, which is what we call a false flag, right? If that happened in Venezuela.
With this historic executive,
Obviously, because they receive much less scrutiny at the border. If putting an end to fentanyl was his priority, he would be looking elsewhere. But, elsewhere doesn't have the largest oil reserve in the world. If I know my American history correctly, we're probably going to see Venezuela inexplicably attack one of the ships in the blockade in the next month or so, which is what we call a false flag, right? If that happens, it wasn't actually Venezuela.
So Venezuela just put out a statement saying that all 11 people the United States killed in a strike last week were civilians, which is not great, to say the least. That follows a statement just yesterday from U.S. Senator Jack Reed, who, after coming out of a briefing from the newly renamed Department of War, said, quote, "They've offered no positive identification that the boat was Venezuelan, nor that its crew were members of Tren de Aragua or any other cartel." So the statement from Diosdado Cabello, the Interior Minister for Venezuela, said, quote, "They openly confessed to killing 11 people. We have done our investigations here in our country and talking to the families of the disappeared, and we asked in the towns. None were from Tren de Aragua. None were drug traffickers. A murder has been committed against a group of civilians using lethal force." Now, Senator Reed, coming out of that meeting yesterday, he's the ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. He said there is no evidence, none, that this strike was conducted in self-defense. That matters because under both domestic and international law, the U.S. military simply does not have the authority to use lethal force against a civilian vessel unless it is.
So what is this now? The U.S. has seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. An oil tanker? Like, not a drug boat? We used military and we seized an oil tanker? Why would we? Oh, was there drugs on the oil tanker? No, it just had oil, and we're keeping the oil, and now we're talking about seizing more oil tankers off the coast of Venezuela. So it wasn't about drugs? This hasn't been about drugs? You blew up a fishing boat and then allegedly let two men cling to the side for 45 minutes before you hit it again and killed them. But it's not about drugs. It's actually about oil.
Okay, I know there was a lot to take in. Seems like we're going back to war, and all of this sounds strangely familiar with the weapons of mass destruction and one country having more oil and another country needing the oil. At one time, it was yellow cake uranium, and now it's fentanyl that has been classified as a weapon of mass destruction. In one of the videos that I had on there, a gentleman said that the range on the drones from Venezuela would hit Florida. And I did a little research. I didn't dig too deep. He may know a little bit more than me, but ChatGPT told me that the range on the Duran 2 drone can reach up to 1,553 miles, which would definitely hit Puerto Rico. And I know that our leader would not care because he honestly thinks that Puerto Rico is garbage. He said it, not me. And the fact that rich people think that our lives are expendable and that we're easy to throw away is sad to me. And there will be a lot of young women and men, or young males and females, getting hurt in this situation that is just not needed. So I mean, tell me how you feel about it in the comment box below. That's really all I have for you today. Again, this is the Antisocial Social Club with the K, and I'm Bree, and I hope you enjoyed the content. So please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Help me move through the algorithm, and just thank you for all you do. Bye.